Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoiler-free review for Sabriel by Garth Nix. Now this is the third time that I've ever read this book in my life because it's one of my favorite books of all time. It was also my Bibliothecary book pick for last month, so every month my Bibliothecary supporters get to vote in a poll for a book that I will read and review. This is the one that won because last month's theme was rereads of old favorites. So if you would like to participate in my content in that way, voting in book polls, video topic polls, getting tarot card readings, auto reviews, a bunch of different stuff, I will leave the Bibliothecary link down below and on the screen. So this is the first book in a technically YA, although it's very much upper YA. It's sort of before YA was classified as the genre it is today. But the first book in a YA fantasy trilogy. It follows the main character of Sabriel, and she is a porcine, which is basically a necromancer, but instead of a person who raises things from the dead, she puts things back where they belong. So her father is the current porcine, and he sent her across the wall into what is essentially our world. It's not our world, but it very much is like that modern day for like the 90s when this was written times. And she goes to school there while still learning magic. And people do know about magic, but only people that are really closer to the wall. And then over the wall is where like it's sort of a different world. It's this fantasy world exists. Well, one day at school, she gets a message from her father that something's wrong and she has to go and figure out like what happened to him. And everything goes from there. So first off, the world building. I love the world in this series. I love the fantasy world. It has that very sort of like nostalgic fantasy feel, but also really interesting takes on like magic and the way that magic is done. There is charter magic, which is sort of like the good magic, I guess. It has like rules and it is established, and there are sort of like charter symbols, and people like across the wall have charter magic, and it has an order of structure and stability to it. Then there's free magic, which is essentially like chaos magic, which is just magic out there doing its thing, being all wild. And then there's magic that has to do like with the dead, and is like the sort of like evil stuff kind of going on. So not only do we have that really cool magic system, but we also have, with everything surrounding the like necromancy and her powers, she uses a series of bells to basically bind the dead or get them to do what she needs them to do. And she goes into the world between life and death, which is essentially a river with a bunch of different like sections and gates, where like dead things are, and the farther back you get, the worse things are and whatever. So this was the thing that started my love of necromancy, started my love of characters that can go between life and death. It was this book that I read when I was 15. So I'm obsessed with this. Next we talk about our characters. Sabriel is a character I really love because not only does she not know things, but she picks up on things pretty quickly and like walks that really fine line of being a character that is naive about some things, but also is like figuring things out and not just like bumbling along. So she's very competent. I love her strength. And everything. Then there's a bunch of really awesome side characters. There's very minor characters that you get kind of attached to. There's one of the best animal companions ever in this series, Maggot, who is a magical talking cat who is more than just a cat, but I won't tell you what exactly he is, but he is a magical talking cat. There's a bunch of different people that come in and out like helping her. There's creatures and things that are like really interesting. The villain in this is just like so the dead things, the things that come out of death are like terrifying but so cool. So I love everything about, again, like the characters and stuff. And then plot wise, we have this mystery of what happened to her father. She's also learning about the world as we're learning about the world. She's getting to see all these different places and all of the things with magic and learning about the history and this world that like she hasn't really been a part of since she was a child and was sent away to school. So I really love this. I love this whole thing. I love the way things progress. The one fault I would say of this book is there is a little bit of like a romance, minor subplot. And on reread, it's so like sort of insta-love out of nowhere, not a lot of build-up. Do I still really love them as characters because I loved them as a teenager? Yes. Are they the weak point here? I'd say yes. So I know from a like critical standpoint, this book is probably a 4-star, but for me, it sat so heavily in my feelings that like, I love it enough for everyone, and I give it a 5. It is one of the books that's gonna be added to my book sleeve. I already have a plan for it. I love it. And I did reread this with the intention of rereading the next 2 books in the series, which are Lyriel and A Porcine. Those follow different characters, which is why I always hesitate to continue. I've read them already. I read them back in high school, but I have reread this one numerous times now, but I haven't reread the whole series. I've just stopped at this because you can honestly stop at a standalone with this if you want to. But the next 2 books continue on with everything in the world. So I'm gonna continue with those, see if I like them more as an adult, we'll see. So comment below and let me know what you thought of Sabriel. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.